Ladies and gentlemen, we live in a time where the lines between right and wrong are often blurred. People make excuses, society normalizes infidelity, and the values we once held sacred are questioned. Today, I want to speak on a truth that is uncomfortable but necessary. Why are married men approaching you? 1, the reality of temptation. Temptation is as old as time. It does not respect age, status, or vows. A man may stand before the world as a husband, but deep inside he battles his own desires. If he does not guard his heart, temptation will whisper lies, convincing him that just one moment of attention outside his marriage will do no harm. But we know that's not true. 2. The search for validation. Many married men find themselves in a silent crisis. They feel unseen, unappreciated, and unworthy within their own homes. Instead of seeking to strengthen their marriage, they look for validation elsewhere. They chase after compliments, attention, and admiration from other women, hoping to fill a void that only true love and self-worth can satisfy. 3, the deception of justification. There is always a justification. My wife doesn't understand me. We have grown apart. This is harmless. These lies become the foundation of a crumbling character. The truth is, every step toward infidelity begins with a small excuse, and that excuse turns into destruction. 4, out of the consequences of falling. The damage is never limited to just one person. A broken vow shatters a home, wounds a wife, and confuses children. It leaves a trail of pain that can last a lifetime. And for the one who is pursued, whether knowingly or unknowingly, you too carry a responsibility. Will you entertain the deception, or will you stand for something greater? The call for integrity. It is time to rise above temptation. It is time to be women and men of integrity. When married men approach you, recognize it for what it is, not flattery, but a test. Will you pass? We must choose what is right, even when no one is watching. The strength of our character is not measured in what we do when it is easy, but in what we choose when the world tries to sway us. Temptation is a force as old as time, and it does not discriminate. It comes for the strong and the weak, the rich and the poor, the faithful and the unfaithful. Married men, despite the vows they have taken and the commitments they have made, are not exempt from this struggle. Temptation is not simply about a fleeting attraction or a momentary lapse in judgment. It is a battle of the mind, a test of character, and a reflection of the choices that define a person's integrity. For many married men, the struggle begins long before they ever act on temptation. It starts in the small, seemingly harmless thoughts that creep into their minds. Thoughts of what life could be like if they were free. Thoughts of how another woman might understand them better than their wives. Thoughts that twist reality into a justification for wrongdoing. These thoughts, if entertained, begin to take root and grow into something much more dangerous. Temptation is persistent. It does not knock once and leave. It lingers, waiting for moments of weakness. A man may be happily married, fully committed to his wife, yet find himself drawn to someone else in a way that he cannot explain. It often begins with casual conversations, an innocent exchange of words that seems harmless on the surface. A compliment here, a lingering glance there, a feeling of being noticed in a way he has not felt in a long time. These small moments plant seeds of temptation, and if a man is not careful, he may find himself watering them without realizing the consequences that await. The test of character comes when a man is faced with a choice. Many men believe they are strong enough to resist temptation, but strength is not in facing the temptation itself. It is in knowing when to walk away before it takes hold. The greatest mistake is believing that one is immune to it. The truth is, no one is beyond falling. It does not happen all at once. It is a slow fade, a gradual decline that begins with small compromises, a text message sent at the wrong time, a lingering conversation that should have ended sooner, an emotional connection that crosses the line before the physical one ever does. Married men often justify their struggles by blaming their circumstance. They tell themselves that they are unappreciated at home, that their wives have become distant, that they are simply looking for companionship or excitement. But temptation does not come because a man is unappreciated. It comes because he allows himself to entertain it. There will always be reasons to justify a wrong decision, but the test of character is in choosing to do what is right, even when no one is watching. The truth is, temptation is not a sign of an unhappy marriage. It is a test of loyalty, discipline, and integrity. A man's commitment to his wife is not proven in the easy moments, but in the difficult ones. When a man is faced with temptation, he must ask himself who he truly is. Is he a man who honors his vows? Is he a man who respects his wife enough to protect his marriage? Or is he a man who will give in to the temporary thrill of something forbidden, knowing it could cost him everything he has built? Many men fail this test, not because they are inherently bad, but because they do not recognize the danger before it is too late. They believe they can control it, that they can flirt with temptation without being consumed by it. But temptation does not stop where a man wants it to stop. It pulls him deeper, slowly stripping away his self-control until he finds himself crossing lines he never intended to cross. Some men convince themselves that as long as they do not physically cheat, they have not truly fallen. But temptation is not just about physical actions, it is about the heart. A man who allows himself to emotionally invest in another woman, to desire her in ways that should only be reserved for his wife, has already begun to fail the test. Infidelity begins in the heart long before it manifests in action. And once the heart has strayed, the rest follows. The reality of temptation is that it is relentless. It does not care about the years spent building a marriage, the children who look up to a man as a role model, or the vows spoken in front of God and witnesses. It seeks to destroy. It whispers lies, telling a man that he deserves more, that no one will find out, that he is simply following his heart. But the heart, when left unchecked, is deceptive. It will lead a man down a path that ends in regret, pain, and brokenness. Some men believe they are strong enough to entertain temptation without falling into sin. They enjoy the attention, the thrill, the feeling of being wanted. They tell themselves they are just being friendly, that they have it under control. But temptation is never harmless. It is a fire that starts small, but quickly grows out of control. And once it has consumed a man's heart, it is difficult to undo the damage. The greatest tragedy of temptation is not just the destruction it causes, but the blindness of those who fall into it. Many married men do not realize they are being tested until it is too late. They fail to see the warning signs, dismissing them as insignificant. They ignore the small compromises, believing they are strong enough to resist when it matters. But the truth is, the battle is won or lost long before the final decision is made. It is won in the moments when a man chooses to walk away from temptation rather than entertain it. The test of character is not about never facing temptation. It is about how one responds when it comes. A man who is committed to his marriage does not avoid temptation because he is never attracted to another woman. He avoids it because he values what he has more than a fleeting moment of desire. He chooses discipline over indulgence, wisdom over recklessness, integrity over selfishness. Temptation will always exist, and many married men will face it throughout their lives. But the difference between those who fall and those who stand is found in the choices they make. Every man must ask himself, when faced with temptation, will I be strong enough to walk away? There is a deep longing within every person to feel seen, valued, and appreciated. This need does not disappear when a man gets married. If anything, it often becomes even more important because marriage is supposed to be a place where a person finds security, love, and affirmation. However, for some married men, this need goes unmet, or at least they perceive it to be unmet. As a result, they begin searching for validation outside their marriage, seeking attention from other women to fill the void they feel inside. For many men, this search for validation is not intentional at first. They do not wake up one day and decide to look elsewhere for appreciation. Rather, it is a gradual process that often begins with subtle feelings of neglect or insecurity. A man may feel that his wife no longer notices him in the way she once did. The compliments that were once frequent have become rare. The admiration in her eyes seems to have faded, and the excitement of early love has been replaced by routine. He starts to wonder if he is still attractive, still desirable, still the man he once was. In some cases, a man's insecurity stems from changes in his own life. He may be aging and struggling with the reality that he is not as young and strong as he once was. His career may have plateaued, and he may feel like he is not as successful or respected as he once hoped to be. He may compare himself to other men who seem to have it all together: wealth, power, admiration, and feel as if he is falling short. When these insecurities go unaddressed, they begin to shape his self-worth, and he starts looking for something or someone to reassure him that he is still valuable, still attractive, still enough. At the same time, the pressures and responsibilities of marriage and family life can contribute to this longing for validation. A man who once had his wife's undivided attention now shares her with children, household responsibilities, and the endless demands of daily life. What once felt like a romantic adventure can start to feel like a business partnership, efficient, functional, but lacking the emotional depth it once had. If a man does not feel appreciated for the work he does, for the sacrifices he makes, for the effort he puts into providing for his family, he may begin to feel invisible. He may start to believe that his wife no longer sees him as the man he once was, and that belief can become dangerous. When a man feels unseen in his marriage, he becomes more vulnerable to the attention of other women. It might start with something small, a smile from a coworker, a casual conversation with a woman who laughs at his jokes, a compliment from someone who notices something his wife has not mentioned in years. These moments of attention can feel like a breath of fresh air, reminding him of what it felt like to be admired and desired. The more he receives this kind of attention, the more he craves it, and before he knows it, he is seeking it out. What makes this search for validation so deceptive is that it often feels harmless at first. A man may convince himself that he is not doing anything wrong. He's just enjoying a little attention, nothing more. But what starts as a simple desire to feel appreciated can quickly turn into an emotional attachment. He begins to look forward to conversations with a particular woman, to the way she makes him feel, to the sense of importance she gives him. He starts sharing parts of himself with her that he no longer shares with his wife. And without realizing it, he is crossing an emotional line. The need for validation is a powerful force, and when it is not met in a healthy way, it can lead a man down a dangerous path. Some men end up in full-blown affairs, not necessarily because they were looking for one, but because they were looking for something they thought they had lost. Others may never physically cheat, but they develop emotional connections that weaken their commitment to their marriage. They start comparing their wife to other women, resenting her for not giving them the same kind of attention, and growing distant in ways that slowly erode the foundation of their relationship. One of the greatest dangers in this search for validation is that it often blinds a man to the truth of his situation. He may think his wife is the problem, that she no longer loves or appreciates him, but the reality is often more complex. Marriage goes through seasons, and feelings of neglect or insecurity do not always mean that love is gone. Sometimes the real issue is not a lack of appreciation from his wife, but a lack of contentment within himself. A man who depends entirely on external validation to feel worthy will always be searching, because no amount of attention from others will ever be enough to fill the void that only self-worth and true commitment can satisfy. The truth is, every marriage will face moments where one or both partners feel unseen or unappreciated. The difference between a strong marriage and a broken one is how those moments are handled. A man who seeks validation outside of his marriage is looking for a temporary fix to a deeper issue. He may feel a thrill in the attention he receives from another woman, but that thrill is fleeting, and it comes with a cost. The real solution is not found in the admiration of someone else, but in an honest conversation, a renewed effort to connect with his wife, and a willingness to confront his own insecurities. A man who seeks validation outside of his marriage is taking a dangerous gamble. He risks not only his relationship, but also his integrity, his self-respect, and the trust of the woman he once vowed to love and cherish. The attention he chases may feel good in the moment, but it is an illusion, one that can lead him further away from what he truly needs. The deepest validation does not come from the admiration of others, but from knowing that he has honored his commitments, stayed true to his character, and built a love that lasts. Justification is one of the most dangerous deceptions a person can fall into, especially when it comes to matters of integrity and commitment. Married men who find themselves attracted to someone outside their marriage often convince themselves that their actions are harmless or even justified. They create narratives in their minds that allow them to continue down a dangerous path without feeling the full weight of guilt or responsibility. It is a slow, deceptive process that blinds them to the consequences of their actions until the damage is already done. At first, it may start with small thoughts, ideas that seem insignificant but plant the seeds of rationalization. A man might tell himself that he is not doing anything wrong because he has not crossed a physical boundary. He enjoys conversations with another woman. He feels a sense of excitement when she is around, but he reassures himself that it is nothing serious. It's just talking, he says. I'm not cheating. But emotional connections are just as powerful as physical ones, and the moment he starts seeking validation or intimacy from someone other than his wife, he is already drifting into dangerous territory. Another common justification is the idea that his marriage is already struggling, so his actions do not really matter. He tells himself that his wife does not understand him, that she does not appreciate him the way she used to, or that their relationship has become cold and distant. In his mind, this gives him permission to find comfort elsewhere. He convinces himself that he is simply filling an emotional void, that he deserves to be happy, and that if his wife were doing her part, he would not have to look elsewhere. But this is a lie. Marriage goes through ups and downs, and problems within a relationship should be addressed, not avoided. Seeking affection outside the marriage only deepens the wounds and makes true healing even more difficult. Some men justify their actions by believing that what they are doing is normal. They look around and see other men engaging in similar behavior, flirting, forming close relationships with women outside their marriage, or even having affairs. And they begin to think that it is just part of life. Everyone does it, they tell themselves. It's not a big deal. But just because something is common does not make it right. Normalizing bad behavior does not erase its consequences. It only makes it easier to fall deeper into a cycle of deception and betrayal. There are also men who justify their actions by telling themselves that they are in control. They believe that they can handle the situation, that they will never take it too far, that they can stop whenever they want. They convince themselves that they are only engaging in innocent fun, harmless flirtation, or a temporary escape from stress. But the truth is, no one sets out intending to destroy their marriage. Infidelity, whether emotional or physical, is almost never a single impulsive decision. It is the result of many small compromises along the way. The more a man convinces himself that he is in control, the more he lets his guard down, and the easier it becomes to justify the next step. Some men justify their actions by believing that they are not truly happy in their marriage and that they have the right to seek happiness elsewhere. They convince themselves that they married the wrong person, that their wife has changed, or that they were never truly in love to begin with. Instead of working on their marriage or addressing their feelings honestly, they allow themselves to believe that they are entitled to something more, something different. They see their growing attraction to another woman as a sign that they should pursue it rather than a warning that they need to reassess their priorities. But happiness in a marriage is not something that simply appears or disappears. It is something that is cultivated through commitment, effort, and communication. Looking for happiness outside of marriage only leads to more pain in the end. Another form of justification is minimizing the impact of their actions. A man may tell himself that his choices do not really hurt anyone, that no one has to know, that as long as he keeps things discreet, there is no real harm done. But this is a dangerous lie. Even if an affair or emotional attachment remains hidden, it still affects the way he interacts with his wife. It creates distance, breeds dishonesty, and erodes trust. Even if she does not yet know why, and if the truth eventually comes out, the damage is far worse than he ever imagined. The pain of betrayal cuts deep, leaving scars that take years to heal if they ever do. Some men justify their actions by blaming their circumstances. They tell themselves that they are under a lot of stress, that they need an escape, that they deserve a break from the pressures of life. They might even believe that fate or destiny has led them to someone new, convincing themselves that their feelings are a sign that they should pursue them. But circumstances do not justify betrayal. Life will always have stress, challenges, and temptations, but character is revealed in how a person chooses to respond to them. Giving in to temptation does not solve problems, it only creates new ones. The deception of justification is powerful because it allows a man to ignore the truth. It gives him an excuse to continue down a path that he knows deep down is wrong. It blinds him to the reality of what he is doing, making it easier to dismiss his conscience and silence the voice inside him that warns of the consequences ahead. But the truth cannot be ignored forever. Eventually, the choices he has made will catch up with him, and the damage will be undeniable. No justification can erase the hurt caused by betrayal. No excuse can undo the pain of broken trust. A man who convinces himself that his actions are harmless or justified is only lying to himself. The truth is, every choice has consequences, and the sooner he acknowledges them, the sooner he can make the right decision before it is too late. The consequences of falling into temptation and betrayal extend far beyond the individual making the choices. When a married man crosses the line, whether emotionally or physically, the destruction that follows is not limited to himself. It spreads like ripples in water, affecting his wife, his children, the woman he pursues, and even the broader network of family and friends who once respected and trusted him. What begins as a seemingly harmless pursuit of validation, excitement, or escape can quickly turn into a storm of pain, regret, and broken relationships that may never fully heal. One of the most immediate and profound consequences is the betrayal of trust in his marriage. Marriage is built on a foundation of trust, and when that trust is shattered, it can be nearly impossible to rebuild. His wife, the woman who once saw him as her protector and partner, now sees him as someone who deceived her, someone she no longer knows. She is left questioning everything. How long has it been going on? Was anything real? Was she ever enough? The emotional devastation of betrayal is unlike any other kind of pain because it is not just about what was done, but about the deep violation of something sacred. It causes a wound that time alone cannot heal. For many women, the betrayal shakes their very identity. They begin to question their worth, wondering if they were not beautiful enough, kind enough, or exciting enough to keep their husband's attention. Some may fall into depression, battling feelings of rejection and self-doubt that were never there before. Others may become angry and hardened, finding it difficult to trust anyone again. The security they once felt in their marriage is gone, replaced by a sense of fear and uncertainty about the future. And even if forgiveness is eventually offered, the scars remain. The effects of a man's choices do not stop with his wife. They reach his children as well. A father is supposed to be a role model, an example of strength, integrity, and love. But when a father falls, his children are often caught in the crossfire of the damage he leaves behind. Whether they are young or grown, they are impacted by the brokenness in their family. If the marriage ends in divorce, they may be forced to navigate a divided home, split holidays, and the painful reality that their parents are no longer together. Even if the marriage survives, the tension, arguments, and emotional distance between their parents can leave lasting emotional scars. Children who witness infidelity in their home often struggle with trust in their own relationships later in life. They learn that love is not always secure, that people are capable of deception, and that the ones they trust most can let them down. Some grow up to fear commitment, afraid of repeating the cycle they witnessed in their parents. Others develop resentment, struggling to respect a father who once held a place of honor in their hearts. And for those who were close to their father before his fall, the pain of disappointment can be unbearable. But the consequences do not stop within the family. They also affect the woman he pursued. Many times, the other woman is caught in a web of lies and false promises. Whether she knew he was married from the beginning or not, she eventually becomes part of a situation filled with guilt, secrecy, and shame. If she developed feelings for him, she may be left heartbroken when the reality of his situation becomes clear. If she believed he would leave his wife for her, she may find herself devastated when she realizes that she was only ever an escape, never a true priority. In some cases, the fallout affects her reputation as well. She may be labeled as the one who ruined a marriage, even though the blame does not rest solely on her. If she is also married, the destruction spreads to her own home, multiplying the pain and devastation. What began as something exciting and intoxicating quickly turns into something bitter and filled with regret. And even if she and the married man end up together, the relationship is often built on a foundation of deceit, making it difficult to trust each other fully. Beyond the immediate family and the woman involved, the consequences extend to the larger circle of family, friends, and community. When a man falls, the respect others once had for him diminishes. Friends may distance themselves, struggling to reconcile the person they thought they knew with the choices he has made. Family members may feel the weight of disappointment, ashamed of the scandal that now follows their name. Colleagues, mentors, and community members who once saw him as a leader may begin to question his character, wondering if he is truly the man he once portrayed himself to be. For men in positions of leadership, whether in the workplace, church, or community, the fall can be even more severe. Those who looked up to them as examples of integrity may feel betrayed and disillusioned. If he was a mentor to younger men, his actions may lead them to believe that commitment and faithfulness are unrealistic ideals, setting a dangerous precedent for the next generation. And then there's the personal cost, the damage a man does to himself. Even if he convinces himself for a time that he is happy with his choices, the weight of guilt and regret eventually catches up with him. Many men who fall into temptation find themselves consumed with shame, struggling to live with the reality of what they have done. They may lose sleep, battle anxiety, and feel the heavy burden of knowing they have hurt the people who love them most. Some men try to justify their actions for as long as they can, convincing themselves that they made the right choice, that they were following their heart, or that their wife was the problem. But deep down, when the excitement fades and the reality sets in, they are left with the truth. What they have lost was far greater than what they gained. They traded years of trust, love, and stability for a fleeting moment of pleasure, and now they must live with the consequences. No one ever falls expecting to destroy their life, but that is exactly what happens. The damage is not just a temporary inconvenience, it is a deep wound that affects everyone involved. It is a loss that cannot be undone, a fracture that may never fully heal. And in the end, the cost of falling is always far greater than the momentary thrill that led to it. Integrity is the foundation of strong character. It is the invisible thread that holds together a person's reputation, relationships, and sense of self-respect. Without integrity, everything else crumbles. Trust is broken, lives are damaged, and regrets take the place of what once was honorable. In a world filled with temptation and moral compromise, the call for integrity is more important than ever. It is not just about avoiding wrongdoing, but about actively choosing to do what is right, even when no one is watching. Integrity requires personal responsibility. Every individual faces choices that test their values, especially when it comes to relationships. The temptation to engage in something that feels good in the moment, but ultimately leads to destruction, is always present. Married men who pursue someone outside of their vows are making a choice. But the responsibility does not rest solely on them. The person they pursue also plays a role. Choosing to engage with someone who is already committed is not just a lapse in judgment. It is a decision that contributes to someone's downfall. True integrity means refusing to be part of that process. Society often downplays the seriousness of compromised integrity. Flirtation, emotional affairs, and even full betrayals are sometimes seen as normal, justified, or even expected. Excuses like "he's unhappy at home" or "we just have a strong connection" are used to minimize the weight of such actions. But integrity does not look for justifications. It stands firm in what is right. A person who values integrity will not allow themselves to be drawn into a situation where they become part of another's moral failure. They will recognize the warning signs and walk away before any damage is done. Integrity is about setting clear boundaries. It is about knowing what is appropriate and what is not, and refusing to blur the lines. Many situations that lead to betrayal do not start with bad intentions. They often begin as innocent conversations, friendly interactions, or moments of emotional vulnerability. But integrity does not allow those moments to turn into something more. It recognizes danger before it escalates and makes the decision to step away. A person with integrity does not entertain thoughts of "what if" or "just this once." They do not justify small compromises because they understand that every downfall begins with a single step in the wrong direction. A key part of integrity is respecting commitments, not just one's own, but also those of others. Even if a married man makes advances, even if he insists that his marriage is already broken, even if he claims that his feelings are real, integrity demands a firm response. It requires the ability to say no, not just for the sake of one's own moral standing, but for the sake of protecting others from their own weaknesses. It is not an act of cruelty to reject someone who is looking for validation outside their marriage. It is an act of strength and wisdom. Integrity also means having the courage to hold others accountable. Sometimes it is not enough to simply walk away. There are moments when speaking the truth is necessary. If a married man is acting inappropriately, the right response is not to encourage it or ignore it, but to remind him of his commitments. This may be uncomfortable, but integrity is not about seeking comfort. It's about standing for what is right. If more people refuse to participate in or enable infidelity, fewer families would be torn apart by it. Living with integrity is not always easy. It often requires sacrifice, self-discipline, and the ability to resist short-term pleasure for the sake of long-term honor. It means choosing loneliness over false companionship, walking away from situations that could lead to regret, and staying true to one's values even when no one else is watching. But the reward for integrity is far greater than the temporary thrill of compromise. A person who walks in integrity can hold their head high, knowing they have done what is right. They do not have to live with the burden of guilt, the fear of exposure, or the pain of destroying someone's trust. Integrity is not just about avoiding scandal. It is about building a life that is worthy of respect. It is about being the kind of person who can be trusted, who keeps their word, and who does not betray others for selfish reasons. It is about choosing to be a source of strength rather than a source of temptation. It is about being able to look in the mirror and know that the choices made were honorable. A life of integrity creates a ripple effect. When one person chooses to do what is right, it inspires others to do the same. When a woman refuses to entertain the attention of a married man, she sends a clear message that commitment matters. When a man chooses to honor his vows even when tempted, he strengthens not only his marriage, but also the character of those who look up to him. Integrity is contagious, and the more people uphold it, the stronger the foundation of morality becomes. At the heart of integrity is the understanding that every choice has consequences. The decisions made today shape the future, and compromising moral values for a fleeting moment of pleasure is never worth the price. True integrity sees beyond the moment. It considers the aftermath. It asks, how will this affect me? How will this affect others? Is this worth the potential destruction it could bring? And when integrity is the guiding principle, the answer is always clear. The call for integrity is a call to higher standards. It is a reminder that values matter, that faithfulness is important, and that no temporary pleasure is worth the pain of broken trust. It is a challenge to rise above temptation, to be strong in character, and to refuse to be part of someone else's downfall. Integrity is not just about avoiding wrong. It is about actively pursuing what is right. It is the key to a life of honor, respect, and lasting fulfillment. Thank you.